Alright, so today the full trailer for Shin Evangelion dropped, and I thought it might just be fun to do a little breakdown of all the new shots that are in it. It's about a minute and a half long, but really only a minute since we're going to be skipping the first 30 seconds because there's pretty much nothing there. And I'll be playing the video at 0.25 times speed. That way it's just easier to pause and get a better look at some stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to be playing the audio. I'll be able to hear it, just you won't be able to hear it. And I'll also be pausing frequently, so it's probably better that way anyways. All right, so first we do have this shot that's at nighttime of one of the what seems to be failures of Infinity. So they've alluded to shots like this all the way back since what do you call it? Until You Come to Me, where the failures of Infinity seem to have some like translucency to them. But this is the first time we've seen them at night, so they also seem to have some sort of luminescence to them. It'll be interesting, I guess, but nothing really that much deeper here. A shot of some water, and then the possibilities here is either that this is either a purified body of water at one of the Lilin settlements, or this is either a shot from the end of the film after part of the world has been purified. So yeah, and there does seem to be like a little shadow in there, like a reflection of something, but can't really tell. This shot is kind of interesting just because if you do look at the tower that's spinning, you can see strings coming off of it, like what the Wunder uses to manipulate objects to make them float. But at the bottom of the tower, there seems to be a lot of floating rubble, which is more reminiscent of all impacts, like at the end of 2.0 when Unit 1 awakens and all the rubble's kind of flying upwards and towards the center of the hole behind it. A quick shot of the piano from 3.0. Nothing really much there. Some phone lines. I guess the tension here with the phone lines is that they are not chorified. So again, this is either post purification or this is in some sort of already purified Lilin settlement of some sort. Oh, oh, that was fast. Then there's a shot of what is probably Shinji tying a bow for Rei, and it's really funny because pretty much everybody's in agreement that this is Shinji and this is Rei, but the only thing to really go by is skin tone. But yeah, I think the same thing as well. The question is which Rei is this? It's either Rei Q from the previous movie, or there's the slight chance it could be the original Rei who comes back, which we'll get to that in a different shot. We seem to have some sort of section on the Wunder with Misao and Asuka. So this is obviously where that other shot, the third teaser, I believe it was in the third teaser, that took place where you saw Misato standing in front of one of the sets of three of these things. And so beforehand it seemed like maybe it was like a magi unit, since there was three of them. But since there's so many of them, it kind of does give you the feeling of like a hive. So I have seen the idea, and I think it kind of does make sense. Also because like the Wunder is an arc that what are inside all of these things are like humans in some way, whether that's like their actual bodies and they're like cryogenically frozen, or maybe possibly it's like what's that movie Interstellar by Christopher Nolan, where they have all the zygotes and they take them out into outer space just to keep them fresh. So I could see that being a possibility here as well. Or they could just all be like magi units keeping the Wunder running somehow. Here's Mari and Asuka, and this I'm guessing is also inside of the Wunder because if this was Mari and Asuka after they've taken off in their units, the only location this could be is inside of the ships they were sailing on, or inside of Unit Eight's tail. And I don't think it's big enough to have anything like this inside of it, so I'm pretty sure it's just in the Wunder, either launch or sometime after the launch. CG does not look great to me. a shot of Shinji. So what I will point out is that in the background you can see some dark red flecks, and this is going to be coming up in other shots as well. And it begs the question of continuity between the shots. So if these shots don't have fake backgrounds, like these are the actual shots of the movie, then we can assume a few things from them. So here's Shinji in this background with freckled spots, and we have Gendo with his visor damaged and with the same background behind him. Unfortunately, we can't really see what's behind the visor even when it lights up in a few seconds with electricity. There we go. But the idea that Gendo doesn't even have eyes is interesting because that was the case with what is like the Rei slash Yui head that was in 3.0. So it would be kind of a weird parallel if they both of them had empty eye sockets. This is probably the most interesting shot of the trailer to me. So this is obviously supposed to be like a child of some sort, and it looks the most similar to Asuka. She has a backpack on, she has a beanie, and then her scarf is apparently the colors of the flag of France. But who knows? So like it could be. So I think there's two options. Either this. Okay, there's three options. So option number three. I'm just gonna start with option number three. This could be totally fake. This could be an instrumentality. That's always an option when it comes to Eva. Okay, but option one and two. There's two main ones. Either this is Asuka or it isn't Asuka. If it isn't Asuka, then it could be a child of some other characters, and the candidates for that would have been Misato and Kaji if they had a child, or if Hikari and Toji had a child, which I was expecting some sort of reveal like that. So when I first saw this, for a second, that's what I thought this could be, is either Kaji Misato's child or Hikari and Toji's child. But very quickly, you're like, okay, no, that's obviously supposed to be looking like Asuka. So then option one, if it is Asuka, she's obviously a child in the shot, so it could be a flashback. It could be. Okay. So if it is Asuka, it could be a flashback of her when she was younger and she was in Euronerve, which would explain the scarf that she's wearing. But the thing that it wouldn't explain is actually, let me. She's in the cold, and it hasn't been. I guess I don't think it's ever officially been confirmed, but in the original series, part of it is supposed to be that it's always summer after Second Impact. So why would she be? It does seem like they're outside. Like they could be in an indoor facility, and that's why she's cold. But this kind of points to this taking place after at least after at least Third Impact. All right, so if it is Asuka and it's her as a kid, then the two options are either this is a flashback to her as a kid, which could be the case because maybe there was the instance where Shinji and all the other children met when they were younger and they had their memories erased. Like that's been a theory that's thrown out a lot. Or it could be literally that somehow Shinji goes back in time and sees her, and that's like the crazier of the two. Um, but if it isn't her as an actual child and this is her post Third Impact, then there is a chance that this isn't Asuka per se, but this could possibly be a clone of Asuka, which also goes kind of hand in hand with the idea that all of the children were tested on and had their memories erased. Because if they were all raised in like a similar facility, if they all had parents who had similar positions at Nerve, then maybe there are multiple Asukas out there. So that's one option. The other option is that there could have been funny business going on with um, Asuka post the not third angel, the Unit 3 outbreak incident, where we never really see her body again. But there is the crazy chance that the reason why she looks 14 in current day isn't because she stopped aging, but because she actually regressed. Like she actually kind of aged backwards for a while, which means that she would have to kind of grow up again. So this could be her during that process, but that's just another crazy idea. Let's just get to the next part though. But this is definitely the most interesting shot. If anybody else has any crazy ideas about what this could be, I do think it is Asuka. I don't know when it's taking place, but there's a ton of possibilities. It's definitely the most interesting shot to me. Oh, and one last thing about it though is that the background actually does look kind of similar to the ending shot to the Until You Come to Me short. So yeah, like it's kind of like this weird. It looks like it's outside, but there's like concrete grid, like a grid building of like cross pillars. It's weird. It's just a shot of Mario with some unidentifiable units in the background. Not gonna really worry about that one. This is another shot of Ray. Not gonna really worry about this. We don't know which Ray this is. The clone thing is a much bigger problem with Ray. There could literally be thousands of Rays. There may be thousands of Rays. Maybe they're all piloting all the units that are flying around. So yeah, don't know what the deal with this picture is. It The only thing that makes it different from weird stock images of Ray is that she's upside down and that there's a cable. So this picture or this scene with Toji's little sister, Sakura, is one of the more interesting ones. So it's definitely mirroring the scene where Shinji wakes up from 3.0. So the person who's blinking and waking up and seeing her face again, it's probably Shinji. Like that would be my first guess. But there is this Rei. Like if it's mirroring the thing of waking up and then seeing her when you wake up, then it could be that they salvaged Rei somehow from the unit. And it could be anybody else too, but I feel like those are the two that make the most sense. Then we have a shot of Misato clutching her bleeding arm, and then it's kind of hard to see, but there are freckles. Like if you look on the right side between the two prongs of the, you can see that there are those same little dark spots in the background. So this is also going on in that same place that the Shinji and Gendo shots were taking place. And I'll review them once we get to all the shots. There's at least one more, I believe. Yeah, so then we get this crazy shot with Midori. This is probably my second, I think is the second most interesting shot in the trailer, actually. And we couldn't really tell with Midori, like what the background was, but I feel like there's a good chance it's taking place with these other two shots that are sandwiching it. Then we have um, Ritsuko screaming with the same exact background. And this is the last shot in that series, so I'll go over what I think they could be. So if all the shots with the red backgrounds are taking place in the same scenes, then um, so if all the shots with the red backgrounds are true, then it's more interesting to talk about them because in the previous teaser trailer number 3, we actually do see a similar shot um with Ritsuko, and she's actually on the bridge. And this is the view from the inside of the Wunder during what seems to be the clash between Wilei's Wunder and then Nerve's Dark Wunder, or whatever you want to call it. So that's like if the previous trailer was true, and that this case was also probably true. So the shot we're seeing right now with Ritsuko is probably also on the bridge, like they're inside the Wunder, and this is the view from the outside, and so those speckles in the background is like debris that's flying around them. So what that also means is that the shots with Gendo and Shinji also should be like in the Wunder or like inside of a ship's. So I think there is some misdirection going on. I think that maybe, let me see if I can scan backwards. I think that maybe, let's see, where's that Shinji and Gendo? There we go. So I think they want you to think that that this Shinji shot is connected to this Gendo shot, but I don't think it is because if there is the Dark Wunder, that means that it's obviously also being piloted by the only people at Nerve that we know of, which are Gendo and Fuyutsuki. They're probably on it. We saw them on a similar bridge to the Wunder at the end of 3.0. So I think the misdirection is that maybe the person who's confronting Gendo in the scene, the person who has damaged his visor, is Fuyutsuki. And Fuyutsuki's also mysteriously absent from this from this tra- from this trailer. So I think that's like, yeah, there's definitely some validity to that. Like the only other thing, it's because it is also kind of weird. Like if this was Shinji, like the two shots don't make sense back to back. Like what did Shinji shoot him in the face? It just doesn't make sense. And then the Shinji shot. So I do think that Shinji shot may be connected not to this interior. So I think the interior we're seeing right now is the interior of the Dark Wunder, and then the shots with Shinji, Misato, and Ritsuko are taking place on the Wilei's Wunder. So I think maybe what's happening is that there's kind of an internal struggle on the Wunder, and so Misato gets shot somehow on the Wunder. And if this thing of Midori is true, I think there's the possibility that what happens is that Midori kind of mirrors Ritsuko in End of Evangelion a little bit, where in End of Evangelion, Ritsuko feels so betrayed by Gindo that she confronts him and she basically, you know, holds him up with a gun. She never ends up shooting him, but like kind of that same feeling. So I could see if it ends up coming to light that Misato has lied to the Wheelay crew and especially the younger members. So Midori is one of the more interesting characters to me because her and Sakura are two of the only characters in 3.0 that really outwardly show disdain for Shinji. But if you do the math, both Misato, not Misato, both Midori and Sakura, they were children. They were children when near near Third Impact happened, and probably also when Third Impact happened. So everything they've been fed about Shinji, they never met Shinji, has just been lies, or what I think are lies, or propaganda that Wheelay has told them. So if Shinji confronts Misato on the bridge, and then it comes to light, so it could be that like there's the off chance that it is just Midori shouting here at Shinji because she doesn't trust Shinji, or it could be that it finally comes to light like all the lies that I think Misato has been telling about Shinji and about her responsibility and his responsibility in the incident, and maybe Midori will freak out and she'll pull a gun on Misato. So that's a possibility. Yeah, because this shot doesn't make sense to me as a at the enemy shot. Like the way it's emoting, I don't feel like it's Midori yelling at the screen like, "Oh, the enemies are attacking." Like this is like the type of thing where it's like she's shouting at a person who's in front of her. That's what I get the feeling of. And then probably Ritsuko sees this and she's like, "No, stop Midori." Like that would also make sense. Then you have Hyuga and Alba, and I did not realize this, but like so they're wearing their black plug suits here, and in the previous um teaser trailer 3, all of the bridge people were wearing black plug suits already. I did not notice that at all. So these aren't new plug suits. And also in the Paris, what do you call it? Avant one, the first 10 minutes of the film. So the grunt wheelie members were wearing black plug suits, but Midori was wearing a purple one, right? Yeah, like a purple violet one. And then Maya was wearing a yellow one, and Ritsuko was wearing a green one. But now that they're on the bridge, all of them are wearing. Well, we haven't seen Maya, but both Ritsuko and Midori are wearing black plug suits now. So I wonder if that's going to be like another retroactive thing that they change. And when it finally does come out in theaters, I wonder if they've changed everybody's plug suits in Avant to black. Because otherwise, it's going to be weird seeing them switch plug suit colors for like no reason. Into a fist bump. It's nice. And there's this shot of Karu, which I feel like to me it was up in the air with the previous teaser trailer number 2, where Karu shows up next to Shinji, and you can kind of maybe say it's just like a quantum Karu or like a Karu in Shinji's mind, but this time feels more concrete that Karu will be present in some physical form just because the way his hair is animating, where it seems like air is blowing through it. So if it was a fake Karu, it doesn't really feel right to portray him that way. So yeah, I think Karu will show up. Hopefully this isn't a shot from the very end of the film though, and like he's come back to life. Like hopefully this is like has to do with the story in some way. That's a lot of motion for if he's not real. Then Shinji fighting at twilight. I think the time is important to remember. I'll get back to that in a different part. Another interesting part. Let's see if we can pause it in time to get a look at his plug suit. Maybe one more. Okay, maybe that's as good as it's gonna get. Let me try to get one more. One more frame. Okay, I couldn't get another frame, but it does look like Shinji's wearing his white plug suit still. However, I'll try to put an image in. for the cover for the song for this trailer, the One More Kiss by Hikaru Tada, the cover that's featuring Shinji, he's wearing a plug suit that doesn't match up with any plug suits that he's ever worn or that anybody else has ever worn. And the only thing I can think is that either there's a new plug suit that they haven't shown us yet, or it is his old white plug suit and he's just carrying something like at the bottom that we can't see, and it's like making his plug suit look like new and asymmetrical. But yeah, I'll put a picture in if you feel like you can like suss out like, oh no, that's just like this shadow or this shape, or maybe it is like he's holding something. But yeah, he's gonna get a new plug suit because nothing matches the image from this CD, One More Kiss, which they said when they featured the image that this was actual line work that's going to appear in the actual movie. So yeah, we have Wunder flying over a camouflage cocoon with a dark Wunder bursting out of it from the other side. Um, I don't know like why there's this huge camouflage cocoon, but we'll see in the actual movie. I also don't know where they're at. Like the way the air is colored makes me feel like they're like in the stratosphere, like they're basically in outer space. Dark Wonder, more of Unit 2 flying around, shooting the kind of fodder Avas. I'm not a fan of any of the stuff with just like Unit 8 and Unit 2. Just like what I'm assuming is just gonna be trashing all these like fodder enemies. Like it's just not that fun to me. Maybe I should try to insert an image of the putties from Power Rangers. That's what it feels like to me sometimes, where it's just a bunch of enemies just hanging around until they get caught by the main characters. But yeah, it's just there's too many enemies to have like fun choreography. Yeah, and then it's hard to see, but again, it feels like the Ava designs are changing. Like we can't really get a good look of any of the ones in the background, but they're not identical to anything else we've seen. They're not identical to the fodder units that were at the end of the preview at the end of 3.0 that look like Unit 6. Like they don't look like that. Then you have this shot of not Mark 13, just Unit 13. And it's kind of has the same pose that Karu has where he's just chilling out with his knee up in the air. I think it's not. Some people said it's like a sinister pose. I don't think it's. Oh, can I go back to it actually? Like I think it's more like a waiting pose. Like this unit was waiting for somebody, and maybe we can assume it's waiting for Shinji. But also to point out, it has the same twilight kind of color that Shinji had at the beginning of that we had in the previous shot with Shinji inside whatever unit he's piloting, which is probably Unit 1. But then we go right to this action shot. Ooh, how long is it gonna take? So then we go right to this action shot with Unit 13. And in this shot, it's totally daytime. So those two previous shots with Twilight, either those are beforehand and like it starts at Twilight and then they battle and it's brighter, or it could be the opposite where this battle was taking place between those two previous shots and eventually they kind of like calm down in a way, or like maybe Unit 13 wins and that's why he's just like chilling out and he's not waiting for Unit 1. Like maybe he's standing over Unit 1. Like who knows? Another interesting thing to point out is that in the background you can see the solar panels for Tokyo 3. And so I'm assuming this is Tokyo 3. So this is also, I keep on saying like this is like one of the most interesting parts. To me, this is like the third. Third? Okay, maybe this is above the Midori shot. I'd say the Asuka shot, the child Asuka shot, then this shot, then the Midori. Those are like the three most interesting to me. So the deal with this shot, why it's so interesting, is that this is probably Tokyo 3, which means that Tokyo 3 is fully restored for some reason. In the background, you can see that the mountains are totally green. Um, but also, okay, there's actually a lot more stuff to get into in this shot than I thought. Let's just watch it first. So we have Unit 13 fighting Unit 1 with the Spear of Longinus, and Unit 1 has the Spear of Cassius. Okay, so let's go back. By the way, I do think, I will just say up front, I think this animation is pretty bad. It's some of the worst CG choreography, I guess, that I've seen in the series. And it kind of it reeks of the kind of preliminary CG that was in the trailer, not the trailer, the preview at the end of 3.0 for Shin Evangelion, the preview that had, what is it? It's Unit 8 plus 2 running across a wasteland and then killing the mass production Mark 6 type units. And so like that, when I remember when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's obviously not going to be in the actual movie. Like that was just some like CG thing they threw together for the preview. And that's what this feels like as well. But they're also kind of advertising this as it's going to be in the movie. And because of that, I kind of don't know if I believe it. Up until this point, that's kind of my one of my main fears too, especially with teaser trailer 2 and then teaser trailer 3. Both of them use the Next Time preview song, like the previews at the end of the movies themselves. And it kind of feels like maybe they could be trolling us, just like they were with the 3.0 preview at the end of 2.0, where everything in that preview wasn't in the actual film. And that's kind of my fear, is that either all these trailers are actually trolling us and none of this is going to be in the movies, or it's not going to be in the movies the way they're portraying it to be. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they cut some stuff out. And they've already changed stuff. Like in teaser trailer number 2, Mari had a gray plug suit, and everybody was like, oh, that's a new plug suit. And then in teaser trailer number 3, they changed it to the white plug suit. So that was either something they purposely were misleading on, or they just did not have the actual design finalized in that time, which is also kind of scary because those weren't released like super far apart. Like they should have had that decided already, I feel like. But yeah, CG is not that okay. Also, another nitpicky thing, I hate how the arms are just like folded onto the unit because like it's a cop out answer, but like that's how they got the arms, is they just kind of fused out of the unit itself. So I wish the arms would have just fused back into the unit. Like it just looks bad. Like it looks bad that they're all curled up. And if they want to come up with an excuse like, oh, if there's only one pilot, we don't know how many pilots there are, but if there's only one pilot, they can only control one pair of arms at a time. But that's not even true, because in the last movie, Shinji was totally piloting by himself and synchronizing with all 4 arms and using all 4 arms by himself. So yeah, but yeah, that's also another question: is who's the pilot? It could be, it could be. Sorry, I had a little cough. But yeah, it could be a clone Rey. It could be clone Karu. We don't really know. They made a big deal about like, oh, Rey couldn't pilot it to break through the barrier because she doesn't have her soul with her, but that could have been a lie. And it also, I guess maybe she could have piloted it, but she just couldn't break through the barrier. We don't know what's going on. Like there's a lot of stuff that's all up in the air. So yeah, I think the biggest cop out is if the unit is just running on a dummy plug. I think that would be pretty lame. Then again, this could all just be fake. This could all just be fake footage. That's scary. But okay, moving on from that, in the background, what's interesting is that we have the solar panels from Tokyo 3. But what's interesting, only 4 of them, when traditionally there's 6. Also, if you see behind Unit 1 in the shot, you'll see some red scaffold. And if we continue the shot, yeah, that's like very weightless animation. Okay. Oh, and so here, now we're going through more red scaffolding in the city. So why this is interesting to me is that, so there's only 4 solar panels instead of the normal 6. And then also there's red scaffolding for what seems to be making new buildings, which we've never seen before. Like there's always been like cranes around the the city, which are usually what doing like repairs, we're assuming. But I feel like this is shots of things that are in the in the process of being made. So hypothetically, if this is a restored Tokyo, and if there is time shenanigans, maybe there's the possibility that this fight that we're seeing happen not only is taking place because this scene, I mean, the state of Tokyo, of Tokyo 3, this definitely has to be pre near third impact. So pre the status of Tokyo 3 during 2.0. Because by the end of 2.0, even before third impact, just at near third impact, it's totally wrecked by the big cross shape that Shinji makes, and they show it and it's all torn apart basically, and then a lot of the buildings are lopsided, and this is totally fresh. The mountains in the background are totally green in this one. So this is definitely at least this Tokyo 3 is at least to the quality of 2.0 Tokyo 3. But with all these buildings, it could be possible that we're seeing an even older Tokyo 3. So the craziest thing, like the craziest thing I can think of is because I don't think Tokyo 3 existed like at Second Impact, but if this was a few years afterwards, when they're establishing Nerve, this could be a Tokyo 3 where Yui is still alive and working at Nerve, and that would make more sense with the story, where the reason why Gendo's doing all this is because he wants to get back to a time where Yui is still separate from the unit, so he can save her. So yeah, that's an interesting idea to think about. Is like maybe this is even farther back. Like maybe this is not just restoration. Maybe this is time travel. And if it is time travel, how far back does it go? So that's interesting things to think about. Then there's just this shot with Asuka. I like this shot. I don't think there's like too much to read into it. I just think it's cool that they're going with the aesthetic of it is like the post-apocalypse. So even though they have like really good technology sometimes they do have to do really primitive stuff like this, like make towers. I like that. All right, sorry, my microphone seemed to have cut out. Hopefully it's working now. If not, I'll have to re-record this last section. But yeah, I do like if all this stuff is true, I do like the way that Cassius is showing up again, because what it probably means is that the Spear of Cassius, the Lance of Cassius, was with Wheelay the entire time, which leads credence to the idea that um, that the two spears that they found in Central Dogma it wasn't simply Cassius and Longinus, and then Cassius morphed to look like Longinus. It's that those two were Longinuses because the four atoms each have their own Longinus, and then Lilith has her own Cassius. So there's one Cassius and four Longinuses, which I like that idea better. And then Karu came down with the Lance of Cassius, and since then, like in the interim of 2.0 and then up now till Shin Evangelion, maybe that Karu that we saw at the end of 2.0 has been with Wheelay. So it's like we know Unit 6 ended up being used by Nerve or Neo Nerve in some way to merge with the Lilith that was in Central Dogma. But hopefully the Karu that came down is still alive and he is at Wheelay, and all the stuff we've seen hasn't just been hallucinations, and that would also mean that the true Spear of Cassius has been with Wheelay the entire time. So yeah, I think that's interesting. One more shot in the trailer to look at, which is Shinji seemingly rising in determination, and then bam, his eyes turn purple. All right, so that's the end of the trailer basically, and I think the purple ice thing. I guess all it means is that oh something is gonna happen with the unit. Like the eyes changing color seems to signify synchronization with the unit in a way. So up till now we've seen their eyes turn green for Mari and Asuka when they kind of go beast mode with their units, and then for Shinji we've seen his eyes go red when he like super syncs. I believe it was like 400% sync ratio with Unit 1 when it awakens at the end of 2.0. So this time we see it blue, not blue, sorry, his blue eyes turn purple. So it probably means that we're going to see a different kind of sync ratio. I don't know what it means specifically. I guess I'm not the biggest fan that they're introducing like a new eye color to represent like a new sync ratio, but maybe it'll be used in an interesting way. Anyways, I babbled a lot longer than I thought I would. I'll try to get this edited and out tonight, so that way I can see if there's any comments tomorrow. But if you want to comment about any of my theories and about how crazy they are, that's totally fine. I'm just spitballing here. But yeah, I think there's a lot to chew on in this trailer, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.